So my question for you, Big 12 fans, is which of the former teams from this league do you miss the most? I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. We cover the Big 12, and we are so glad that you are here as always. And listen, it's okay to admit it. We're in off-season mode. We're thinking about next football season. And I'm thinking about, just because, it's been kind of a sleepy few days, the transfer portal's been humming, but I've been thinking about, who do I miss from the Big 12? And who do I absolutely not miss? And I'm going to rank them for you 5-1. I don't miss Texas. They're at the bottom of my list. I'll get to that here in a second. I would love for you to make sure that you are subscribed to the show on podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also on YouTube, just take a second out and check to make sure that you are subscribed. And if you could, drop that 5-star rating and review. We're giving away merch on the podcast to those who leave that 5-star rating and review. So we thank you a whole lot for doing that. Got a couple nice ones here in the last couple of days. We're up to 837 reviews. Can we get to 850 here soon? What do you say? Thank you, guys. I appreciate you doing that. So who do I miss the least of the 5 former Big 12 schools? You've got Texas at the bottom of my list, but the other schools, we all know who they are. OU, Nebraska, Missouri, A&M. Colorado left and went back, of course, so we're not going to count them. Texas is at the bottom of my list because every time the Big 12 was on the brink, it was largely driven by something that Texas did. Someone that they pissed off, somebody got fed up with them, somebody didn't trust them, and somebody wanted away from the Longhorns. That was basically the motivator behind everything that happened to the Big 12 that was negative over the last 25 to 30 years at this point. So I don't miss Texas. I mean, sure, it was great when they would come to your team's town and it would be good for the small businesses. It was exciting. It was fun. I get all of that. I do. But beyond that, the Big 12 nearly collapsed on 2 notable occasions, 2011 and then 2021, because of Texas. First, they wanted out to the Pac-12. They were, 30 minutes away from going to the Pac-12 15 years ago, literally 30 minutes away. And then, of course, in 21, it gets leaked that they're going to the SEC, and the Big 12 went into chaos. So there's nothing to miss about Texas. There isn't. I mean, they annoy everybody everywhere they go. And now it's the SEC's problem. And yes, they're playing well. They're in the playoffs. Sark's got them humming, so everyone's kind of playing nice. It's only been a year. Please, just give it time. The team I miss the second least, ranking this from 5-1, is the Texas A&M Aggies. The Aggies are basically a slightly less annoying, but also less masculine and less successful version of the Longhorns. They had some Big 12 ties, of course, with their old Southwest Conference partners, and it would be cool to see them play TCU and Houston now, who, of course, did not make the Big 12 the first time around in the mid-90s, but that's not happening. Otherwise, I would just say to A&M, good riddance to a program that was one of the first to bolt nearly 15 years ago because they were fed up with Texas, and now they're stuck with them anyway in the SEC. So how do you like them apples, Aggies? The team I would put at number 3 on my list of the former Big 12 teams I missed the most, the Missouri Tigers. Missouri was always a natural fit in the Big 12, and they still had very little culturally in common with the SEC. Think about what they had. They had the border war, right? They had the old Big 12 North, which was fun, even if it wasn't always as competitive as the South. It was fun. Nebraska owned it for a while, but then they came back to the pack, and Mizzou and KU and K-State would get in the mix. Iowa State and Colorado really never had a chance back then. But it was always like, all right, who's going to win the North to get a chance to play OU or Texas out of the South? And it was fun. You'd get those November snow games, a lot of close geographical games that fans could drive to. That's what made it great. It's what made it fun. And Mizzou was part of that Big 12 North fabric in its heyday, and it worked out really well for the Big 12. They had a great thing going. The universities were a great regional and cultural fit together. Instead, Missouri gave all that up for a bigger paycheck. Very few drivable games for their fans and no real rivalries. Is anyone going to sit there and tell me that Mizzou fans think of Arkansas like they do Kansas? I mean, it's such a stretch. There's no way they do. So both sides lost when Mizzou left. And I admit, I do miss having the Tigers around for the Big 12. They just were a really solid fit for this conference on the floor, on the field, and culturally as well in the Big 12 conference. The team I miss the second most in the Big 12 is the Nebraska Cornhuskers. First off, nobody has suffered more without the Big 12 than the Huskers. They had a blue blood football program that has been basically dormant since leaving the Big 12. Now, there's no way of knowing. Maybe this would have happened anyway. It's entirely possible that that's how it would have gone down, and there would have been that setback. But moving to the Big 10 did not do them any favors. And you think about the old Big 12 North battles with Nebraska, their classics in the Oklahoma rivalry. Nebraska was an original Big Six team going back to 1928 with Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Kansas State, and Iowa State. I mean, those were the teams that hung together for the better part of 85 years. Nebraska won, but they largely had respect and likability. And that was rarely the case for Texas to have both of those things. And now Nebraska lost both of them. And the Big 12 lost as well when losing them. So they lost their winning culture. They lost likability. They lost respect. They lost the recruiting pipelines to Texas. They lost so much. And then the team I miss the most after Nebraska from the old Big 12, the Oklahoma Sooners, another original Big Six team. Of course, OU is only 1 year removed from the Big 12, but this was the team that was the face of the conference for decades. And it hung in there for the betterment of the conference for years after the initial round of realignment. And I will forever believe that in 2021, it was Texas who initiated that Big 12 departure, basically holding OU hostage and saying, come with us or get left behind. It was an understandable concern for the Sooners, given the SEC money, but in hindsight, staying top dog in the Big 12 would not have been a bad option for OU, given the current college football landscape where the NIL money is, yes, partially driven by the TV money you can generate from your conference deal, but a lot of it's just who's got donors with deep pockets who want to pay up for players. OU is as Big 12 as it gets, and yes, I miss them. I miss Bedlam, and I miss what they brought to the conference. So that's how I would rank it, from teams I miss the least to teams I miss the most. Texas at 5, A&M at 4, Missouri at 3, Nebraska at 2, and Oklahoma at number 1. And just to be clear, this ranking was in no way intended to be about, our new 8 schools in the last 2 years in the Big 12. That's not the point. It's just to look back for a moment in the offseason, have some fun, and rank those 5 teams on who you miss and who you don't. That's the only point. Let's see what we got here. Eddie says he misses A&M the most. That's a surprise. Well, Eddie's a San Antonio guy, so maybe that's got something to do with it. OU is 2 for him. Nebraska's 3. Mizzou is 4. And Texas is 5. Patrick says, I usually agree with your stuff, but I think that this broadcast is just sour grapes. No sour grapes. I mean, Texas is always sour grapes, let's be honest. I mean, I will always be sour grapes when it comes to the Longhorns. But the rest of it's not intended to be sour grapes. John says, I only miss OU. All the others can kick rocks. Preston writes, I think OU and Nebraska are either or. Miss them both. I agree. There's a clear number 1 and 2 with OU Nebraska. Rye Guy says, as a Cowboy, Oklahoma State Cowboy, I miss Bedlam, not OU or Texas. I think Missouri was cool, though. Don't miss A&M either. Yeah, Missouri was cool. If we're talking about the coolest factors here, OU and Missouri would top that list for me. I'm with you there. Nebraska would be third. I mean, the Texas schools absolutely can pound sand. Jerry says we should have let Texas leave 12 years ago. Jerry, the Big 12 would not be here today had they left 12 years ago. There was no backup plan. You got to remember something. The reason the Big 12 survived in 2021 is because they had a short list from when they considered expansion back in 2017, 2018. So they had already done the vetting. And that's where they came up with UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, and Houston. In 2011, that conference was such a mess, they would not have made it because in 21, they already had the vetting done. So they turned it around in about 5 weeks and they invited those 4 schools because they knew what they brought to the table. In 2011, Texas was on the verge of jumping out west to the Pac-12. And they were 30 minutes away from doing it. And if that had happened, I think the Big 12 would have collapsed. OU would have left probably with Oklahoma State, Texas Tech with Texas, and frankly, I'm not sure what would have happened to the rest. Like, I don't know what we'd be saying today about Iowa State and Kansas State and Baylor. Like, I don't know what that would have looked like. But I don't think that letting Texas go 11 years ago would have resulted as well as it did 4 years ago now. Let's see. Jeffrey puts his top 5: Nebraska, Mizzou, OU, A&M, and Texas. So we all have Texas at the bottom. Preston asks, who is the lead face of the conference right now? So this is good news and bad news. There is none. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. We're glad you're here on the show as always. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button right now in the video. To answer the question, Preston, there is no face of the Big 12. That is good news because it means that, of course, the Big 12 is a complete crapshoot and totally up for grabs, and that makes for a very exciting regular season. But it's bad news because you do need a blue blood or two, or you do need the big bad wolf, whatever you want to call it, at the top of any conference to kind of set that standard and be that team that conferences love to hate and desperately want to beat. You might argue it's Colorado because of Deion Sanders, but they came in and came back, and yeah, they had one good year, but they didn't even make the conference championship game. So you can't really say it's Colorado, and they've got to string together a bunch of really good seasons without Travis Hunter and without Shadur before you even have that conversation. It can't be about the head coach. And then you look around and you say, okay, who else could it possibly be? Maybe Arizona State under Kenny Dillingham becomes that team, but I got to see it to believe it. Iowa State obviously is consistently going to be there, but there's nothing dislikable about Matt Campbell and the way that the Cyclones operate. I thought Mike Gundy might have a chance, but the guy just went 0-9 in the Big 12 last year and had his worst year as a head coach ever. So that team does not exist. There is no face of the conference right now, which makes for obviously a very exciting product, but you do want to develop those teams at the top. That's good for any conference. They have it more so in basketball. I mean, you got to say it's Houston right now, but basketball's not football. That's the reality too, and that has to be addressed here in the conversation. There's no doubt about it. Now, speaking of conversations that we need to have, let's get to Matt Rhule here, the head coach at Nebraska. Used to be in the Big 12 with the Baylor Bears. Did you see what Matt Rhule had to say? Matt Rhule took a pretty obvious shot at the Big 12 in a recent press conference. And he came out and he was talking about, recruiting. And I saw this for the first time on the Heartland College Sports message boards. So if you're not signed up, they're free. Go to heartlandcollegesports.com, click on the forums tab. You can get right in there. So someone shared this press conference from Matt Rhule late last week. And the point he was making was that Nebraska is right now in a place where a lot of their local kids are getting taken away by other programs. I believe Iowa State has done a really good job recruiting the Nebraska, Lincoln, Omaha area. And his point was, listen, I can't recruit those guys yet because I don't know what kind of player they're going to be. I got to recruit nationally. But if our local guys want to come to Nebraska, I got to make sure they're the right fit. And I want to make sure that they are the right fit as well. So Matt Rhule comes out and he said here, quote, there are lots of kids I would love to recruit that have committed to a Big 12 school or somewhere else. If you want to play in the Big 12 over the Big 10, I got it, but make no mistake, there's a big difference. He said the Big 12 is going to go nuts now. I know that. I'm going to be on X and all that stuff, but it's the reality. The Big 10 and the SEC, especially moving forward, are going to be here higher than everyone else. Well, maybe that's true. Nebraska, though, won't be higher than everyone else. I mean, if you want a chance to play in a college football playoff, you're better off at maybe half a dozen Big 12 schools than you are Nebraska. That's a reality, too. And guess what? You're going to make the NFL if you're a standout at one of the Big 12 schools. Probably 2 of the top 5 picks in the NFL draft are going to be out of the Big 12 this year from Colorado. There will be multiple NFL players out of the Big 12 from Arizona, Arizona State, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. There will be many of them. And Nebraska right now is in a place where they are irrelevant in the college football landscape. So Matt Rhule making his pitch and saying, hey, you know, the Big 12 is down here and we're up here, and that's why you should wait for the offer from Nebraska. It's like, dude, you're Nebraska in 2025. Do you realize that kids being recruited right now only know about Nebraska being good at football based on what they read or they watch on YouTube? Like, they don't have any memory of Nebraska being good at football. There hasn't been a time in their lives consistently when Nebraska's been good at football. Think about it. The last time we saw them in the Big 12 was when they won the North Division and they had that wild Big 12 championship game in 2010 where there was the whole controversy with the field goal. They played Texas and they lost, right? Then they go to the Big 10 and they finished first in the Legends division in 2012. But that was it. In fact, you have to go back to 2016. That's the last time they finished higher than 4th in the division. The Big 10 has since moved away from divisions, but that's the last time they finished higher than 4th in a division. 2016 under Mike Riley, they were 2nd in the West. Since then, 5th in the West, 5th, 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 6th, 6th, 4th 2 years ago, and last year tied for 12th place in the Big 10 Conference. That's Nebraska football for going on 15, 16 years. So these recruits who are 16, 17, 18 years old, they have no memory of Nebraska being good at football consistently. They have not witnessed it in their lives. They've witnessed Matt Campbell win at a very high level at Iowa State. They've witnessed Kansas and Kansas State. They've seen Chris Kleiman. They've seen Lance Leipold turn things around. Think about that. They've seen Kansas win more frequently than they have seen Nebraska. Who would have predicted that 10 years ago? Not me and not you. And that's where a lot of credit goes to the Big 12 schools for doing what they need to do to say, Nebraska, if you don't want the guys in your backyard, that's fine. But Matt Rhule doesn't get to cry about it like a little baby. But I get it. He's trying to play the Big 10 card. The problem for him, the Big 10 card is largely driven by Ohio State. Stop bragging about other teams in your division or in your conference. You finished in 12th place last year, bro. What are you going for here? That's just crazy. But it's also the way things are right now at Nebraska, and it just shows how out of touch many around that program are, including the head coach, Matt Rhule, which is just nuts. But also par for the course for too many. A couple other things I want to note. Credit to Josh Hoover. and his representatives, TCU quarterback who stayed at TCU despite apparently getting a big NIL offer from Tennessee. More reports on that in recent days. So credit where it's due there. A bunch of Big 12 quarterbacks apparently got pay raises after Tennessee decided to go quarterback shopping. That's the way of the world right now. And Terrence Love, the number one safety in the transfer portal, has just committed to Colorado from Auburn. So kudos to Dion. He's going to be big game hunting here in this spring portal. And it's going to be real good to see them have that kind of success. Alan says on YouTube, thank God Rhule left us. Hey, Matt Rhule turned a turnaround at Baylor that didn't include a single top 25 win into $70 million from the Carolina Panthers. I'll give him that much, but that's about it. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for being here, as always, as a part of the show. Subscribe to the channel. We so appreciate you doing that. Podcast or YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day, and go Big 12.